What is good, YouTube? It's your boy, OG Nomboy, back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over another Dragonite Double Steel team, but this time, it's going to be in the Open Ultra League instead of the Master League Premier Classic. And, you know, the Dragonite and Steel core is very common since the Steel types cover for the Fairy type weakness of the Dragonite, and the Dragonite is able to handle the, in this case, Fire type weakness that both our back two Pokemon are double weak to. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into these matches here and see how this team performs. So the first two matches are honestly a little bit scuffed, but we have a Scruffy lead and they bring in a regular Muck, and I'm just kind of like dazed for a second because this isn't really that common of a pick, and I swap in here really slow, but the regular Kanto Muck doesn't really hit too hard. I mean, it still hits kind of hard against our Sizer here just because Sizer is a very glassy Pokemon, but we're able to tank that move alright, and it looks like the opponent is lagging a little bit here. So a little bit unfortunate for them, but they are able to get to another move still, and I'm going to commit the shield and farm them down so that I actually don't even know why, to be honest, because it doesn't seem like switch here is terribly important since both our SCAV and our Dragonite have a pretty decent matchup against the Scrafty here, but we'll see depending on what is in the back if we made the correct decision in maintaining switch or not. So sometimes it's better to just go in with one of your Pokemon and get a nice little energy lead. And now we're just going to bring our SCAV here into the Scrafty since our Dragonite can't really take a hit, and it ends up being a Walrein in the back. So in this case, switch was pretty important since we don't really want our Dragonite aligned to this. But it ends up being like the case anyway, since we aligned our Scav against the Scrafty there. But that would have been the alignment that we got regardless, basically. Like, we would have had the Walrein on the Dragonite and the Scrafty on our Escavalier, but they swap out, and now they're lagging maybe, or I guess they lagged, so I got kind of lucky. So I'm able to snipe them down before they're able to throw a move off, and that's kind of what I mean by that battle was kind of scuffed. I don't know if they were trying to minimize the farm on my Dragonite or something, or if they were just lagging out there. So yeah, next match here, we are met with a Pidgeot lead, and this is also a pretty scuffed matchup just because you can see the Gust is doing a lot of damage to our Dragonite, and you already know all the Pidgeot users like are gonna go Feather Dance, especially against a Shadow Dragonite where it's gonna hit hard anyways, and I have to shield even though I know it's a Feather Dance. So I'm gonna try to get off this Night Slash here, and the opponent's gonna shield, and I decide that I'm just going to let my Sizer go here. I really thought he was going to go for another Feather Dance since, you know, that's what they like to do, but now I'm going to bring my Dragonite in to farm them all the way down, but I don't realize that my switch clock is actually not up. So now I'm stuck against this Nidoqueen here, and this is not ideal for us since our SCAV actually has a pretty good matchup against the Shadow Nidoqueen here. But now we're going to have to tank some moves, and I knew that they were going to go for the Poison Fang since they love doing that, especially when you only have one Pokemon left because you can't really clear out your debuff. So now they got double Poison Fangs, and now it's up to what is in the back if we even have a shot of winning this. So they bring back in the Pidgeot, and since I'm double debuffed here, I don't want to take any of that Gust damage, so I get the Mega Horn off before the Gust damage can register, and I throw this Mega Horn at the Scrafty, and this does do super effective damage, but as you're going to see here, it really doesn't do all that much. XL Scrafty a little bit thick, and because we're double debuffed and they just boosted their counter damage, we're not going to be able to counter them down, so we end up losing that match there. GG's to the opponent. Next match, we have the Dream lead here since we definitely don't want this Talonflame on our back two Pokemon, and they swap into a Registeel here, so we kind of hard counter them with our SCAV. So far pretty RPS, and they throw a move, so I'm just gonna let this go since I know it's not gonna KO, and they actually severely undercharge that move, so they also get the attack drop, I don't know why I'm over farming, because I mean, the extra damage is not going to do that much on the Talonflame there, and I think maybe if they had just fully charged the Zap Cannon, it would have done um, maybe enough damage to take me out, or pretty close to, but it seems like they want the farm on the Talonflame here. But if they had just taken me out, then they would have been able to win switch there, so kind of a costly mistake by my opponent for like double undercharging there, because definitely if they threw like 2 full powered ones, I would have had to at least shield once and they would have gotten an advantage. And they do throw the Brave Bird, which I shield correctly, but if they had just thrown with their Registeel, right, then I would be a shield down, and then I'd have to shield another Brave Bird too. So kind of an interesting choice by the opponent to undercharge there. And now we have our Scizor on their Cresselia here, so I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Our Scizor resists any of the charge moves from the Cresselia and the fast move as well, and I decide to undercharge here to get a farm down. And I kind of want them to, like, I'm trying to stall out the switch timer so they don't get a farm on Talonflame, and then I should just be able to farm down the Talonflame at this point. So the opponent, like, kind of misplaying pretty hard, made it a lot easier for me to win this match than it should have been. So GG's to my opponent. Next match here, we have Deoxys Defense in the lead, and this is not good for our Dragonite whatsoever, since they do know the Rock Slide. So I'm going to pivot into my Scizor here. Unfortunately, I don't have the Shadow version, which I would prefer to run, but I don't have it. And then they bring in the Galarian Stunfisk, which pretty much hard walls this Pokemon. I mean, the Night Slashes are not super effective, are neutral, and for some reason, I go for the Iron Head. So again, these battles are pretty scuffed, but I'm gonna go ahead for the Night Slash this time, and I'm going to probably bring my Escavalier in here after to like get a nice little farm on this Stunfisk here. But if I don't want to tank too many moves, I will have to throw my Drill Run or Shield once. So it looks like I'm probably gonna go for the full farm down at this point. And they do throw the Earthquake, which works out nicely for me. And they bring a Trevenant in, so these Mega Horns will definitely hurt if the Trevenant lets them go. And Trevenant lets the first one go, so now at this point I'm feeling alright maybe. It really depends, but I think the Deoxys here can get to enough Rock Slides before I end up taking them out, especially since they have 2 shields up, so we're probably going to end up losing this match here. Deoxys Defense also just not really that common of a pick, so we've already seen Muck, the Kanto Muck, we've seen Pidgeot, which again also is not really that common of a pick. Like, it's kind of seen here and there, and same with the Deoxys Defense, like it's not a true meta pick, and you know, not seen all too often, so really rare kind of Pokemon in the set, making for some interesting battles here. So we do get taken out, and that is a GG. So let's see if we can go positive in the set. So we're at like two wins right now, and last match here, I guess I edited this a little bit poorly, but we have a Trevenant lead, and this is kind of like a neutral-ish lead. You do have to shield up the Shadow Balls properly, and also the Seed Bombs themselves hurt quite a bit just because you are a Shadow Dragonite, so you're not tanky at all. And knowing that, I kind of swap out into my Scizor here, but I'm going to shield anyways, because if it is a Shadow Ball, it's going to basically take me out. And they bring in a Swampert, so Shadow Dragonite does pretty well against Swampert, but the regular Dragonite does even better since they can tank 2 of the Hydro Cannons pretty comfortably, whereas a Shadow one can't. And we are already pretty chipped from the Shadow Claw damage from the Trevenant there, so not an ideal position to be in. But they decide to throw this next move, so they aren't too ahead on energy with their Swampert right now. So I'm going to bring in my Dragonite, and we're able to just barely farm them down before they get to a move. And they bring in a Walrein, But this is where the new move of the superpower kind of comes in clutch. We threaten a shield and we have our SCAV in the back here. So we just have to not shield up any earthquakes here, but I think that was a little quick anyways. I haven't been counting now, but maybe during the match I was. And they bring the Trevenant back in, so I'm going to take them out with the Mega Horn, and that should be a good game here. So opponent concedes, so able to go positive despite having some pretty scuffed battles. And yeah, this team overall performs pretty well, but I wouldn't like highly recommend it necessarily. Check out my other videos on some other Ultra League teams that I think do perform a little bit better. Like this team just doesn't have a whole lot of bulk, so a lot of times if your opponent is able to like manage their energy well and get some sort of other advantage, then I mean that could spell trouble for this team. But that's all for this video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and also submit your battles in the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.